didn't even know if I wanted to go vegan, but I didn't see another option. You can't unlearn certain things, but I had a why. What's most important when helping people on their vegan journey is giving them a why to be vegan, but then also showing them how. When people don't have a how, obviously that does make it harder, and how to be healthy and how to be able to stay active and be thriving. When I first went vegan as a teenager, I didn't know how to cook, and now it's been 14 years. So right now I do have about 35 to 40 recipes, and it's second nature, of course, at this point.
All right, welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast. I'm your show host, Maxime Sigouin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, a company that is on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and reduce their risk of chronic illnesses by 2033 and 1 million by 2050. I believe that having a fit, healthy body and mind is the foundation to living an incredible life, and this is what the show will give you if you choose to listen and implement. Enjoy the episode and have a great day. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Stefanie Stevens, who is the founder and creator of Veganize.com, who loves to share recipes online, vegan products, and pro tips to help make people's plant-based journey better. And fun fact, we met for the first time in person at the Christspiracy premiere in LA. I think it was like almost a month back. So, Stefanie, welcome to the show.
Almost a month. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So obviously you're plant-based and you're kind of helping people make their plant-based journey easier through the content that you're sharing in the recipes. But I would love to know what got you to become vegan, what got you to become plant-based?
Yes. So I did start out as vegetarian, as a lot of people do. So I went vegetarian when I was 15. When I was a kid, I was growing up in Ohio, and I always knew that I wanted to not eat animals anymore one day. For ethical reasons, I just didn't feel right. I didn't want to eat dead animals. So I always knew that I'd be a vegetarian, but I had kind of heard of veganism, not really, kind of. And it seemed kind of extreme, pointless. Like, why would you be vegan? You just, vegetarian is good enough. Milk and eggs are fine. It's not hurting anyone. And then after I'd been vegetarian for 1.5 years, I was 16, and I read a book that ended up being about veganism. And it also talked about the ethical reasons, not just like a plant-based healthy lifestyle. It was about the health aspects too, but also the ethical part of it. So then when I learned about the dairy and egg industries, I was like, and how unhealthy dairy and eggs actually are, but the ethical parts too, I was like, I can't look at dairy and eggs the same. So I just took it a day at a time, and I just decided, like, I don't really want to, drink milk or have things with dairy in it or eat eggs. And being 16 years old, growing up in Ohio, like, I didn't know any vegans. I wasn't on social media like that. Didn't really know much about veganism, but I'm just going to avoid dairy and eggs. And I was already not eating meat. So took it a day at a time, ate a lot of oatmeal, potatoes, things like that. And the longer I did it, of course, the easier it got. And now it's been 14 years. And it's second nature, of course, at this point.
Yeah. So what was that book that you read?
It's called Skinny Bitch. It was very popular in the early 2000s. So I remember hearing about it a lot, like, in the tabloid magazines and things like that. A lot of public figures were reading it. And I was into health a lot. Didn't, cared about the ethical aspects for sure, but I had always been into health and fitness, doing yoga a lot, even as a teenager.
So what made it that when you were younger, you didn't feel like you wanted to eat animals? Because it just makes me think of these videos that you see online where the kid is sitting down at the plate and is crying, looking at the plate, being like, this is chicken? Like, why would I want to eat this? Basically, it's like the chicken that we had in the backyard, a few hours ago. So I'm wondering, like, where that connection was made for you that made it clear from such a young age.
Yes. So I see those videos online and I really resonate with them, because that was very much how I was. My hometown is Columbus, Ohio. It's a big city. People think Ohio, they think like small farm town, but I did live in a small farm town for a lot of my childhood. And our next door neighbors were deer hunters. And we had deer in our backyard all the time, like coming in, like eating from our apple trees. And then also sometimes, we would see our neighbors dragging dead deer across the yard. And it was very
Yeah.
traumatizing for me and my sister. Um, and because it was, like farmland, we didn't live on a farm, but a lot of our neighbors did. And like you see those farm animals all the time. So I feel like because I grew up in that, it was easy for me to make the connection. And like 4-H was like a very big thing where I'm from.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, it's like the people, the farmers and stuff that grow up, in that lifestyle. They think, you would think that the people who are part of those industries, they're the furthest thing from vegan. But a lot of the time, it can help people make that transition, and you make the connection way easier because you're exposed to that.
Yeah. Can you explain what 4-H is for people that are not familiar with it?
So 4-H is very much focused on animal agriculture, raising animals, breeding them, introducing children into animal agriculture and farm life. And I didn't do it for many years as a kid, but it was very big where I'm from. And I remember at our county fairs, there would be kids that they're raising like sheep and cows from when they're little, and then they take them to the fair, and then you have kids show their animals, and then they're selling them so they can, they're either dairy cows or they're beef cows and that sort of thing, or of course sheep too. And they're sold into, to these farms and into this industry. And those are a lot of the videos that you see online of these kids that are so upset by it. And in some ways it desensitizes kids, but on the other hand, sometimes it has the opposite effect, and then you have people like me, like, and lots
Yeah.
of people you hear about people that were, they were beef farmers or egg farmers, or they were butchers, and now they're vegan or at least close to it because they saw what really happens behind the scenes.
Yeah. And I kind of had a similar brought up as you. Like I grew up on a farm, went to those fairs, and I think it's a little bit odd now that I look back at it. That is like, yeah, let those kids play with those animals only to be sold and be killed for meat or to be used for dairy after. And I feel like once a kid who I feel is a
Right.
lot more empathetic and compassionate than an adult would be, who's been a little bit more numb to life, once it makes a connection, it's really hard to unsee it. And that's why you hear in those videos that we alluded to, that parents are like, well, this is just, it's just chicken, right? Like it's that mental numbing of like, this is food, this is not a pet, this is not a being, this is just meant for you to consume.
Right, absolutely. I think a lot of it for me was my favorite animal was deer and having them in our backyard. And like I said, we had apple trees where they'd come, and we also ate deer. Not super
Yeah.
often, but we did. And that's one of those things where like I never like felt right doing it, and it's like I could live without this. I could easily live without eating deer.
Yeah, I again grew up in the same thing. My dad was a hunter. He actually, we would be in our pool in the country in the backyard, and he would like, it would be deer hunting season, and he would just like shoot a deer from the pool because there was one right there. So I understand how how
Oh my
challenging that
god.
can be to see that as a kid, and so slowly working on converting the family to veganism. Have you been able to kind of like nudge your parents in that direction yet?
It's interesting because they are very respectful of it. So my whole family still lives in Ohio. When I went vegan at 16, my mom did it with me for the first 2 weeks. And she's kind of like dabbled in it over the years. She's very respectful of it. She loves vegan food. Same with my sister. And my dad is one that I think, just has a harder time like understanding what it is.
Yeah.
But he'll say things, and he's one of those people that if he says something, it's true. Like he's saying it because he really means it, Otherwise he'd just stay quiet. He's not just gonna like, say something just to be nice. But he'll say things that show me that like, wow, he really does care, and he's willing to understand, and he's very supportive. Me doing this full time, working in the vegan field, I would say he's my biggest supporter, and he's become like a business mentor to me now as well. But he is very supportive of it, and my whole family at this point has they like to try vegan food,
Yeah.
and I think they've learned a lot. But I think and there are those people that are like, yes, I've turned my entire family vegan, and I think that's incredible. Um, but everyone's different, and everyone has different values, and all you can do is plant your seeds. And I've had relatives, um, extended family who's hunters as well, and all you can do is live by example. And the ones who that resonates with, or that are either willing to learn or open to it, or um, have those values, that'll resonate
Yeah.
with them. But it doesn't resonate with everyone.
Yeah. And then that are just ready to change, right? And I would love to be the person that was like, yeah, I converted my whole family. I only got my mom so far. My dad's still
Right.
work in progress. My brother's a big
Okay.
bodybuilder, like meat eating type guys. So, it's where, like you said, plant the seed,
Oh,
water the seed, and just be patient. Basically, that's all you can do.
right. Right. Exactly.
So, we'd love to ask you. You mentioned, I think before we start recording, that you officially launched your website, lifeveganize.com. So, what made you want to
Yes.
kind of take some of your personal journey with transitioning to veganism, and then turn it into kind of like your full time focus and wanting to help people in that space?
Yes. So with the website, that is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I actually tried it pre-COVID, and it was one of those things where a website is a lot, as I'm sure you know. It's a whole project. So at the time, years ago, I had tried it, and I was like, okay, maybe this isn't the time, or it's not for me. But I really wanted to try it again. So right now with my website, I do have about 35 to 40 recipes. When I first went vegan as a teenager, I didn't know how to cook at all. Didn't Never learned. I am self-taught when it comes to cooking, and now it's been 14 years. Just a few years ago, I remember seeing, and I've followed lots of vegan blogs over the years. There are some vegan recipe websites that I love. Chocolate Covered Katie, she's one. She does a lot of like dessert recipes, but also savory stuff too. She was one of the first bloggers that I ever found when I was a teenager. So there's a lot of different vegan recipe websites that I have, that I've gone to over the years that I've really loved, and I thought, wow, like I'd love to do something like that. But especially in past years, I hardly know how to cook. I'm really just throwing together whatever. And then, just a few years ago, I started making my own recipes. After learning how to cook, you just kind of wing it in the kitchen, and then over time, I'm actually writing stuff down and measuring things, and kind of came up with the collection of my own recipes. And as I've mentioned a lot, I am an ethical vegan as well, not just doing like plant-based eating. But I think that you do catch more flies with honey than vinegar, that sort of thing. And so a lot of my content is food-based. And
Yeah.
I think it really does, it attracts people. People are very excited and interested in food. And it gets people interested in veganism, and it shows you how you can be vegan. I think the two biggest things with veganism with people is the how and the why. The why I've always felt was like the most important, because if you want to do something bad enough and you have a good reason, then then you'll find a way. When I was 16, I knew exactly why I wanted to go vegan. I didn't even know if I wanted to go vegan, but I didn't see another option at that point.
Yeah.
You can't unlearn certain things. But I had a why. So, like I said, I was eating oatmeal and potatoes for 6 months, and, you know, incorporating new foods. So, I think what's most important when helping people on their vegan journey is is giving them a why to be vegan, but then also showing them how. And when people don't have a how, obviously that does make it harder. But I feel like that's where like our job is helping people with the how to be vegan, and how to be healthy, and how to be able to stay active and be thriving. And so I've gone a lot of different directions with Life Veganized, I feel like. But the food is definitely something that people appreciate. And I have people reach out to me that are like, oh, do you have a so-and-so recipe? I was hiking with Zeus a couple days ago and started talking to someone about veganism, and he was like, do you have a good hummus recipe? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm going to write it down and send it to you. And that helps people right there. And a lot of the
Yeah.
time, like I have like vegan cheese hacks and things like that that really, really help people. And it's like, wow, like if I would have known it was this easy, I would have looked more into this or done it a long time ago.
So let me ask you this: how different now than when you first started? So how would you actually transition to veganism now? Now that you have all this, like you have more knowledge, you have more tools, you have more experience.
I think social media is so powerful. And of course, social media can have its downfalls, but it really depends on how you use it. And I personally have found communities, vegan communities, whether it's local, and I've lived in different cities. I've lived in Ohio, I've lived in Colorado, and now here in LA. And I've found different local communities or any type of community, like Facebook groups are super. I recommend Facebook groups to anyone. There's all different types of Facebook groups for food, for recipes, for restaurants, for animal rights events in any city that you can think of. And that's a great, social media is a great way to build a community and be a part of a community. And even if you're just one of those where it's like, well, I don't really post on social media, you can join the Facebook groups, follow the Instagram accounts, and just see what other people are doing. TikTok now is great. And you don't have to participate at all if you don't want to. And there are a lot of people like that who don't really want to participate and post in Facebook groups and ask for help. But you can just search things and you can find anything you need. And the internet in general, I think, is great. Just Googling all types of vegan resources from, looking for vegan dinner recipes to, you know, wool alternatives or, vegan fashion or is something vegan? Is this ingredient vegan? I think the internet is a great resource for that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because you mentioned earlier you're more on the, like, obviously at core, you're an ethical vegan. And I love what you said about the recipes being the thing that kind of draws people in. I'm a big fan of leading by example, and that kind of attracts people versus kind of pushing things down people's throat, because typically they don't respond well if it's more of an attack, or people tend to be more defensive. So from an ethical vegan standpoint,
Right.
at what point did you have to start looking at other areas of your life to kind of meet that value? Because like you said, talk about wool, talk about leather, talk about skincare, like there's so many other aspects to it. So when did that change kind of happen for you, and what were some of the main areas that you're like, oh shit, this is not vegan and I never thought about it?
It was definitely like a longer transition for me. Being vegetarian first, technically, I say I was vegetarian, but I was really, for a lot of that, I would have technically been pescatarian. But
Yeah.
I was living in a farm town of 15,000 people at 15 years old. I'm okay with, you know, once I realized, like, oh, fish do have, can feel pain. Fish are considered animals. I hadn't even thought of that. I quit eating fish before I went vegan. So I was like pescatarian for, I don't know, months, then vegetarian, then was eating plant based. And then and also cut out honey later. I know honey can be debatable, but I was eating honey for the first couple years of being vegan. And then I had either read an article somewhere or seen a post online or read a book or something. And I looked into honey, and then I decided that for myself, I didn't want to consume honey anymore.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, and I think as you get more, it does become second nature, even just eating vegan. And then you're kind of looking around your house and you're kind of like looking at what you're wearing, and you're starting, when you start reading ingredient labels on food, you also start reading the tags on your shirts and your jackets and stuff. And I think that that's something that I can't put a date on specific, like, oh, I stopped wearing this or stopped using this type of skincare. But it's like, it would have been years ago, but it would have been something where if I ran out of mascara and I needed to buy more mascara, I like years ago, I used to use like CoverGirl and stuff. And I would just Google really quick when I'm buying more mascara, like, is this brand vegan and cruelty free? And then if not, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to try out a different kind now. Same thing with like shampoo and conditioner. And, reading, and then when you're buying clothes at the store, you're just kind of, you can read the tags just like you read ingredient labels on food. I think a lot of people have come to me like, well, how do I know if a jacket is vegan or shoes? It's like, well, there's a little ingredient label, just like food, right inside it, like a
Yeah.
little material label. So that's really helpful too.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part that people don't consider. But I also think that more and more companies are making it easier for people to transition. And I absolutely love the model of
Mm-hmm.
when I run out of something and I need to buy another, then just going to buy a vegan version of it, right? Same thing if it's for like, a belt, a purse, or whatever it may be. Hey, once yours is all broken down, just go buy another one, but just ensure that it's vegan. And I think Gucci came out with a vegan belt, so with a vegan purse, like more high end companies are also coming out with vegan alternatives, which is awesome. Um, so what are companies that you like from a clothing standpoint and from a makeup standpoint that are vegan?
But it's funny. I posted a video on a reel on my Instagram, and then I posted it on TikTok yesterday. And it was my top 5 favorite vegan and cruelty free makeup products. And one thing I do want to mention, because I think a lot of people have this misconception that veganism is expensive, and so often it's actually the opposite. I'm not like a label type person. Like when it comes to like, even when it comes to like cosmetics, like I don't need to go into Sephora and buy like $35 mascara at all. And same thing with clothes. Like I don't really do like the designer label stuff anyway, but when they come out with vegan options, I think that's great. If you're buying a fur coat that is animal fur, it's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. A lot of the time, especially when I'm clothes shopping, I love clothes shopping. And I find things, and I do get like fake fur coats, like vegan fur. And,
Yeah.
or I have like, I think it's supposed to be like a wool, but it's vegan. And I remember I was at Macy's a couple years ago. This was when I was living in Colorado. So it was like winter. I needed to get winter coats. And sometimes that can be difficult to find like actual vegan winter coats and stuff. But there was a whole rack and it had vegan and huge, and it was like a huge sign. And and all there's like 4 or 5 different types of jackets, and there were vegan leather jackets and vegan fur and all the stuff, and then just other types of like puffy coats that were all vegan materials, and they're cheaper than the non-vegan ones. So that's why I say in a lot of ways veganism is less expensive. I have a couple, I'll buy like a $30 purse from like JCPenney or from like a thrift store or wherever, just something cheap. And I have a purse that I use all the time, and I had posted about it. I hadn't posted about it, but it was in a post, like just
Yeah.
sitting to the side. And I had people come for me in the comments, non-vegans, come for me. Oh, well, you're such a hypocrite because you're using a leather purse. Like, what about your leather purse? Like, you think I have a leather purse? You think I just
Yeah.
overlooked that? This purse is $25. It is not real leather, and it actually says that it's man-made materials on the inside, on the
Yeah.
tag. So a lot of the time, the animal based products are much more expensive.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I always love shopping as a vegan. I love the look of leather. I have a backpack that is
Okay.
full vegan leather. So Matt and Nat, I don't know if you ever heard of that brand before. So they have a full
Uh,
backpack that just looks like it's leather. It looks beautiful, but it's vegan. I
okay.
have like covers for my tablet. This here, everything is vegan leather. I just love the look of
Oh
it,
wow.
and it pisses people off because some people be like, "That's leather." I'm like, "No, it's vegan. That's leather. No, it's vegan. Your wallet is leather." I'm like, "It looks like leather, but it is vegan." And when I'm going to a vegan expo this
Hmm.
weekend. I'm gonna go with my vegan leather backpack, just because I kind of like to stir people a little bit.
Nice.
That's my
Yeah.
own personal thing. But people always trying to pick at something. And you're right. If you have something in a video,
Yeah.
usually it'll be like a really hardcore vegan or someone that is not vegan that will try to like trigger you or say something.
Not vegan. Right.
Yeah. I'll have some really intense vegans that will say
Right.
something, but it's like, hey, like, I know what I'm
Right.
doing. I wouldn't buy leather, right? Obviously,
Right.
this is
Exactly.
fake.
And I love that you said that. Yeah, and I love that you said that about the vegan leather thing because I love how vegan fur looks. And,
Yeah.
and I just feel I don't know. Years ago I never used to. I used to think, oh, that's so tacky. But now like I like having like big fur coats and they're always vegan. And I haven't really had I haven't had people like out in the wild say anything, but I'm waiting for the day when I'm wearing a vegan fur coat and someone's like, "Oh my god, you know, fur is so gross. You're wearing dead animals." And then I'm just gonna say, "Oh my god, are you vegan too? This is vegan." They're like,
Yeah.
"No, I eat animals." Yeah, that kind of thing. Whereas someone that's not even vegan that wants to come at you for leather or fur.
It is like as you become like I would say in the past year I've become more in the public's eye than I've ever been before. So I do get a lot more criticism on some of
Mm-hmm.
those things. I will like some people will come and see me in public,
Yeah.
and we'll start to say some of these comments. I love watches, and so I was shopping for an Omega watch, and they use leather straps, right? And I just always love going there and being like, "Do you have? Is this like real leather?" They're like, "Yes, it is. Like it's premium." I was like, "I don't want it. Like, do you have like a rubber strap or like a fake?"
Right.
A fake
Exactly.
leather, and they're like, "Why do you want that? This is a high end watch." I'm like, "Because I don't want to have leather on it," and it always shocks them. I love it. I get a kick out of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's happened to me too, where they're like, "Oh yeah, this is so high quality, and it's like the best animal from wherever," and it's like, I don't really want to wear an animal, but thank you. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and you're right when people say that. Again, I know we're just riffing off of like the online space, but that's the truth of the work that we do with being online. It's people will come to you because you're wearing leather, then you ask them and they're not vegan, so they're literally eating the cow, but they're giving you shit for wearing leather, right?
Exactly.
Or for me, it's the plastic straw
Exactly.
people
Right.
because you can't tell when a straw is recycled, right? You can't tell when it's recycled. It looks like plastic, right? No one can say. But they're like, you're using a plastic
Hmm.
straw. And they don't know who I am, but it's like using a plastic straw. It's so bad for the fish. I'm like, do you eat fish? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, just stop eating the fucking fish. Like the
Right.
straw is going to make a difference, but if you stop eating it, that's going to save its life, right? It's a very different outcome.
Right. Exactly. Eating the fish is bad for the fish too.
Worse than the straw. So would love to
Right.
ask you.
Exactly.
So again, the title of your blog is Life Veganize. So what are some of the tools and strategies that you give to people through your content to help people make their life a little bit more vegan and to kind of make that journey easier for them?
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned the specific name. I took a lot of care into the name, and I changed the name to Life Veganized a few years ago. But it was very important to me specifically to have something that was sort of broad, and I wanted the name vegan in it. I think some people, not you clearly like me, but some people try to avoid the name vegan, and like if they're writing a book or they're having a podcast or just any type of online or public presence, but I wanted the word vegan to be in it, and I wanted it to be broad. And Life Veganized, what it means, what it really means is that anyone can be vegan no matter what kind of life you have. So it's your regular life, whether you're an athlete or you're eating super healthy or like raw foods and non-processed, or whether you want to be a junk food vegan, or whether you live in a big city or a small town or any country, or whether you're on a budget or you're not at all on a budget and you want to go dine at high-end restaurants, and if you're into fashion. So any kind of lifestyle, any kind of interest that you have, everyone can do their own life and be themselves in a vegan way. So what I like to do, like I said, a lot of the time right now, a lot of my content is food focused, which is great. And then I also sprinkle in other things as well, because of course veganism isn't just about the food, but I really enjoy recommending products to people and recipes. And so I think that's mainly what I've been doing. And I like to listen to my community a lot. My biggest following is actually on Facebook. I have 41,000 followers on Facebook, which is where I get some of the most hate, and some of my some of my best supporters are on Facebook too. So I have people that have literally followed me for, I mean, I started doing this in 2016. I have people that tell me, like, I remember when you were, back so and so, like years and years ago. So, and vegan or Facebook is my Facebook, I feel like it's, in a way, it's a tight knit community. But like I said, there is a lot of the hate from random non-vegans too. But the people that are there, and a lot of my biggest supporters, sometimes they're not even vegan, which I think is great because, who wants like an echo chamber? Um, but I will even, I enjoy that with Facebook, it's more personal and I can just post like, hey, what do you guys want to see? What are your questions about veganism? What can I do to make your journey easier? I literally ask that of people, and I'll ask, what kind of recipes do you need? Or do you cook much at all? Do you just need like easy like kitchen hacks, like more restaurant type things? Like, where are you located? What country are you in? And so I really like to ask my community, and I think what really helps people the most is the recipes. And then a lot of people do ask for like skincare and beauty products, hair care, or they're just confused, like, how do I know if something's cruelty free and vegan? And then I can provide those resources for them.
Yeah, there's actually a question for you on the skincare side. So I know a lot of companies will get the cruelty-free logo on it, but I'm just going to go off and make an assumption that that is like a fee-based model, just like non-GMO, just like organic. So is there a way to know if
Okay,
something
yeah.
is cruelty-free without it having the logo on it? Because I'm sure a lot of small companies that are just starting don't want to pay for that fee to have that logo on it. Do you know if there's a way to kind of know?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I Google things. And obviously Google isn't like a end all be all. You just see the first result and it's like, okay, I'm sold. But I just do a little bit of research, even if I'm in the drugstore and or like ordering something online and I want to try a new product. I like to try. I'm not really. I feel like I'm trying a lot of like skincare, hair. I just switched my shampoo this morning. Like, I think that, I like to try different types of products. So I am Googling, and there are a few. I can't think of the websites right. I mean, obviously, PETA is a good one. If you
Yeah.
if you Google vegan skincare products, vegan shampoo and conditioner, like 9 out of 10 times, one of the first results is going to be a PETA article they've written about it. they've given between 5 and 10 and 20 different recommendations. But there's a couple other ones. There's a couple other cruelty-free websites that are very reputable, and they have lists of these companies. And a lot of them are smaller companies that even I haven't heard of a lot of the time. So I think that can be really helpful. And then also reaching out to the company themselves, especially with the smaller ones. The smaller ones are the ones who are more likely to respond. You can just send them an email and ask them and see what they say.
Yeah, they're still at the size where it's manageable to answer everyone.
Exactly.
So what are some top vegan product that you use? So what are some of your top products in the kitchen, in in the skincare, and then in like, I'm curious, like shampoo conditioner wise, what are some of the brands that you go for?
So in the kitchen, I actually created a series of Instagram reels and TikTok videos recently. I've already published my first two episodes. My second one I published yesterday. That was the one with my top 5 favorite cruelty-free and vegan makeup products. And then I
Yeah.
have a couple more episodes that I've already filmed of there's kitchen staples, there's appliances in the kitchen. Those are a couple different episodes I've already filmed. So as for like kitchen staples, I think having a lot of, if we're going for just like any like foods, I think having a lot of good like pantry staples. I love like brown rice, quinoa. I like having like a lot of like nuts and seeds around because I make like nut based cheeses.
Yeah.
I think that, and then what I think appliances. I know we're talking about like specifically vegan stuff, but I think you have to have the right tools in the
An
kitchen
air fryer
if
and a
you're
Ninja
someone who
Creamy.
cooks. And I think yeah, an air fryer and my Vitamix. Those are the two things I would put that above. I mean, I have a microwave now, but I hardly use it. I hardly have ever had a microwave where I live. Um, but my air fryer and Vitamix, I'd put that above my oven. Maybe not my stove, but I use my blender for everything, and it's really great for dairy-free recipes. Of course, like dairy-free cheeses, salad dressings. Of course, you can make smoothies, but I don't even make smoothies super often in my Vitamix. It's mostly like sauces and dressings and dips and things like that. For skincare and beauty products, Elf is a brand of vegan, cruelty-free cosmetics, and they're one of the most affordable options, like vegan or not. So that's another thing where it's like I tell people, like, you don't need to go to Sephora and buy the $35 mascara. There are very affordable options that are vegan and cruelty free. So I would say for skincare, I really love Pacifica. I can't remember the product that I was using recently, but I just ran out. It was a gorgeous bottle, and it's like orange and red and pink, and it looks like a little like sunset ombre color. But I really like Pacifica products as well.
You ever tried Osea before? It's a Santa Monica based.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No. Is it skincare?
yeah, it's skincare. It's another good one. So my wife Ivy used to be the vice president of a skincare manufacturing company, and they used to produce it for them. And we
Oh,
had
wow.
tons of bottles at
Yeah.
home. That's a really good. That's a really good brand, and they're like again Santa Monica based.
Yeah, I would definitely need to check them out for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And so in terms of makeup, because we covered the skincare, we have a lot of women listening to the show. Right, I would say like maybe 70-80% of our audience is women. So any from a skincare standpoint, what are brand from a makeup standpoint, sorry, what are brands that you lean more towards?
So yes, so Elf is one of my favorites. I use Elf. I use their eyebrow. I use the Elf eyebrow pencil and their blush. Physicians Formula is another one. I think their entire line is vegan and cruelty free, but to be honest, I don't know. I really just Google on like a need to know basis a lot of the time. That may not be great, but like if someone asks me for recommendations, I will Google. If I don't have an answer, I will Google it for them, and or search for an answer for them, and then give them the information that they need. But same for myself. I do know that that the Physicians Formula Bronze Booster is vegan and cruelty free, and that's my favorite. I've been using that since I've started wearing makeup, like years ago. And then the mascara that I use, I buy it off of Amazon. I actually, with that video that I recently posted of my favorite makeup products, I did some research into this company, and they're like a smaller company. It's Vivian Sabot, and I get their mascara off Amazon. So I have like a subscription. I get delivered to my house like every couple months, and they have a waterproof and a non-waterproof version. But I've tried lots of different mascaras over the years, and I feel like vegan or not, like even if you're not looking for something that's vegan or cruelty free, I feel like a lot of people have a difficult time finding a
Yeah.
mascara that they really love. And this one I love. And I've been using it for years. It's like $7 a bottle. So it's not bad at all.
Yeah. So would love to ask you, what is what is a piece of advice that you would want the people that are looking to transition or eat more plant-based to have as they move forward after listening to this podcast?
I think finding your why is the most important. Like I said, the why and the how. But if you have a reason why, and if you really want to do it, and that goes for anything in life, if you really want to do something in life, you have to have a good reason why, because that's what's going to drive you to figure out how to do it. So just educate yourself. And with veganism, some people really don't care about the health of our planet or saving animals' lives, or they don't even care about their own personal health. The fact of the matter is, some people don't care. But
Yeah.
I think there's a huge misconception that non vegans don't care. I think the vast majority of non vegan people do care a lot about their own health, about not being responsible for animal deaths, and about improving the state of our planet, or at least doing their part. Even if they feel like they can't make that much of a difference, you really can. And
Yeah.
you never know how many other people's lives you're touching just by living by example. So I think just realizing that you can make a difference, and if you want to do something, you just need to educate yourself. And then if you're the kind of person who will care, which a lot of people really do, once you find out, once you learn more and more about living a vegan lifestyle versus the impact of living a non-vegan lifestyle, chances are the more you educate yourself and the more that you learn about the impact of living a vegan lifestyle versus the impact of living a non-vegan lifestyle, you may end up carrying a lot more than you originally think. And it's also going to be way easier than you think, especially when you have the motivation to continue learning, to find the resources, to either go online or read the books or watch the documentaries. I think that's something really powerful, is just educating yourself and then see how you feel. And then if you feel like moving towards a vegan life or completely going vegan overnight is for you, then jump on that and do that.
Beautiful. So where can people learn more about you, and what platforms are you most, present on and posting on, so people can stay, on the lookout for those recipes?
Yes. So I'm most active on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Actually, I post on all three every day, and I'm starting out on TikTok, but I've been posting on TikTok like 3 times a day every day the past few weeks, and I plan on continuing that. And then my website, lifeveganized.com.
Beautiful. So for everyone listening, I will be putting the links down below in the description. So whether you're on, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or on YouTube, all the links will just be really easy for you to click on. Stefanie, I always like to end on words of wisdom. So what are words of wisdom that have been impactful in your life? Doesn't necessarily have to be related to veganism, that you would like to pass off to the audience?
I listen to a lot of motivational podcasts, not related to veganism, just entrepreneur stuff, things like that. And I think that one of the most important things is to recognize that in life, a lot of things are going to scare you, especially if you're doing things worth doing. And it's important to feel the fear and do it anyway. And allow yourself to be afraid of things, but don't let that stop you. And personally, I lived a life years ago where I was very much afraid of taking chances, taking risks, and doing a lot of things, and it held me back. And these days, I've learned what it's like to be afraid of a lot of things, and understand that you're human and you're going to be uncomfortable, but you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, and just recognize that being uncomfortable is part of life when you're growing. And I think that's really important, is to just not get too comfortable.
Beautiful words of wisdom to end on. Stefanie, I want to say massive thank you for taking the time to jump on the podcast, share your story, share your tips. And ultimately, for everyone listening, if you want access to those recipes, again, the links will be down below for you to check out. Go show Stefanie some love on all those platforms, and we will see everyone on the next episode. Thank you, Stefanie.
Thank you so much.